There's a lot of.
I live in.
Smile, we're on camera.
Hey,
So-
let me tuck my tummy.
Now,
Last time that camera was on my tummy. Like, come on.
before I go home.
Getting a hint that I need to go run.
Live now?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
I have. And I printed out. Oh, really?
Good morning, Allison.
That, there. Yeah.
Awesome.
You know, if you just kind of.
Yeah.
But hopefully.
I worked in Brownsville, in the city attorney's office. My office, walks away from it. And my phone used to bounce off of Mexican antenna. So I have to be careful and not like wrong.
Hey, Ron, the numbers on the nail guy is not correct.
For walking Mexico.
It'd be 42 and 33. I don't know where those numbers came from, but
Oh, my God. Yes.
if you want, I'd like to do a little, yeah, because I got some paperwork on the people that were out there.
Get a white. See it.
I was here for 17 years.
I'll give it. Don't worry about it.
The only other place I've been in is California, otherwise like.
Lots of time. They're gonna retrieve it the big way.
All right. Good morning, folks. This is a regular meeting, Board of Navigation, Canal Commissioners, Willacy County Navigation District. Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, 9 a.m. 400 West Hidalgo, Suite 200, Raymondville, Texas. Public notice is given that the commission may go into an executive session anytime during the meeting to discuss matters listed on the agenda when authorized to do so by the provisions of section 418.183 or chapter 551 of the Texas Governmental Code. In the event the commission elects to go into an executive session regarding any other agenda item, presiding officer will publicly announce the section or sections of the Texas Government Code authorizing the executive session. First item is review and consideration of previous meeting minutes. And there's two meetings.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Kendrick, seconded by Commissioner Trevino. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next item, public comment. Bonnie Brown.
Good morning. First, I'm going to ask that each board member look at the speakers. Courtesy, thank you. We hope that you won't bury your head in your paperwork and pretend to be reading. You have received your minutes ahead of time, so we hope that you will listen to us. I have been a part-time resident of Port Mansfield for 50 years. paying lease fees. Mark's family has been part-time residents for 77 years. And that's in the last 16 years, we've paid boat stall fees as well, lease fees as well. We raised our kids at Port Mansfield since before, well, from the time they were born. And we have enjoyed many, many years cumulative out there. I know of only two of you who own homes there, yet all of you make decisions that affect all of us who have homes. What is Border Affairs trying to sell? I ask you, what is it? Tourism? Is it fishing? Is it that Port Mansfield is a great place to live? Port Mansfield has all of that already. In case your marketing firm hasn't noticed, every parking lot in Port is full every single weekend, especially from spring to fall, with people fishing and staying in our hotels and rental houses. They have poured thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into the economy. Why would you hire a firm to promote living in Port and then during an election, allow some of the board members to call Port Mansfield residents elite? If you think that we're elites, I invite you to follow my husband around day to day as he does the manual labor that he does to keep our properties and our businesses going. At 73, he runs circles around some of the 33-year-olds. The Port Mansfield United campaign should belong to the Chamber of Commerce. And I was I was on the chamber board out there at Port at one time, not the navigation district. The job of you as commissioners is to manage the navigable waters and manage the finances and operation of the navigation district. Your job is not to create jobs, create subdivision, and definitely not division among the residents. And most of all, not to dictate how we, all the people who do own property at Port, live their lives in a community that you don't live in yourself, except for two of you. If you want to create Port jobs, then please consider resigning your position and run for Willacy County Commissioner's Court, not the Willacy County Navigation District. So again, what is Border Affairs trying to sell? Or are you trying to improve the image of the Navigation District board members? Isn't that what your public relations firm told the Chamber of Commerce? They were working with the Navigation Board to improve your image. It's interesting to me that the WCND didn't have an image problem up until 4 years ago. There wasn't the need to improve their image. They were working with the Navigation Board to, I am sure there are many people in Port that can tell you plenty of ways to improve your image. One would be to start meeting out there periodically. But let me be the first. For once in your tenure, and I'm not addressing Eric and Steve because they, like we, are Port Mansfield taxpayers. I ask you to consider that between those of us who are here to public comment today, and as well as Steve's family and Eric's family, we have 205 years of paying lease fees between us and 8 houses. It is incumbent on you to consider, please, that you are making decisions that affect us. If I were in your neighborhood, I would certainly consult with you about what is going to affect your home and your neighborhood. So first, I ask you to think about the people that your decisions affect directly before you carry on with politics as usual. Thank you.
Kathy, that was work.
Morning. I'm here today to talk about the Border Affairs contract mostly. Seems like spending tax dollars to erase the past board's actions is wrong. Ramming contracts through without good answers is wasteful spending of all taxpayers' dollars. Why was there no open discussion prior to motion being made by you, Mr. Trevino, to accept Border Affairs contracts? Is there a connection between any of the commissioners or Mr. Mills and Border Affairs? This question is on the minds of many people. When Border Affairs president was asked about his PR public relations experience, his answer was, quote, "It's in my DNA." Do the members of this board who voted in favor of this contract buy this as a solid answer? Is this proper due diligence? There is still no Border Affairs website, no Border Affairs board members. This is a one-man company who will have to hire and subcontract a marketing firm. It seems like history is repeating itself. It seems that no matter how many times you're told that this is a bad idea, you ignore and proceed full steam ahead, not listening to the people, just as you did with North American Standards. Mr. Trevino, you stated in last month's meeting that you wanted to put the past in the past and move forward with unity. If you want to show unity, honor your commitment that the board have meetings in port once a year. Second that motion next time it's presented. If you want to show transparency, have an open discussion and listen to Commissioners Hendrick and Chairman Kennedy's objections to Border Affairs. The first time we heard about public relations firm, this public relations firm was June of 24 meeting when Border Affairs was discussed, but no action was taken. July 24 again on the agenda, and this time a motion was made by Mr. Kendrick to not accept the contract. And this was seconded by Mrs. Reyes. The motion carried unanimously. The subject did not appear on the WCND agenda again for 7 months. Then in March of 2025 meeting, when, as you know, this was placed on the agenda without the knowledge of your new chairman and with no discussion with him. A motion was made immediately to accept the contract without full discussion, without informing anyone of the expected full scope of work they were to perform, and without legal counsel's review of the contract. Do you call this transparency? Do you call any of this unity? I don't believe your constituents in LaSarre would even call this unity or transparency. I don't believe the people of Raymondville would call this unity or transparency. I know the people of Port Mansfield do not call any of this unity or transparency. Thank you.
Miller?
Yes, before I launch into what I really want to talk about, I would like to take just a second to thank the district, specifically Frank Vasquez, who coordinated the trash dumpster for the beach cleanup and all that hard work that went behind that. We had a very united event, 350 volunteers, 65 boat captains. Trash tonnage was less this year than it's been in the past. And we hopefully that's because people are paying attention to casting plastic off their boats. But once again, thank you to the district, and also a big shout out to the Willacy County EMS, which I know you guys don't regulate them, but Frank Torres has been dynamite. The Port Mansfield Police Department were there with a boat on the water. Thank you for all of that. It all went without issue, and we have a lot of trash picked up and disposed of.
Good deal.
Regarding the image change that some are pursuing, titled Port Mansfield United. I just want to say that the people of Port Mansfield are already united. We are united against having people who don't live in Port dictate what our residential community will look like. Make no mistake, it is a recreational and fishing port. With every building permit and lease that's approved by the district, they made it that way. You made it that way, and you should stop trying to change that fact. We are united against a port director that has no written rules on issuing permits. Tells one resident they can build a metal frame building for their house, but then lets their next door neighbor build a metal frame building. A port director who decides who gets free land, who must pay, an amount they must pay. A director that draws imaginary lines and decides what land is commercial and what land is residential without input from the board that he works for. We're united against being told by the port director that I own the land. You don't own anything. We're united against the ridiculous idea of a shipping container port in Port Mansfield. If the Port of Brownsville port director says they do not have the infrastructure for a shipping container port, and he did say that, what makes any of you think Port Mansfield can? We're united against being lied to that the only way to get the East Cut dredged is to have commerce in port. There was an economic impact study done in 2015, 10 years ago, indicated that the fishing industry alone in Port Mansfield was $100 million in commerce for Port Mansfield. How about that for tonnage? We're against a board that allows the port director to take out full-length page campaign ads a week before the election to try to interfere with its election, and in that ad reminds the people that they don't own the land. Well, we own the investment in the land, and we own our homes built on this property. We're united against a board member who makes unsubstantiated accusations against a candidate on a social media site during an election and never retreats, rescinds, or apologizes yet. We are united against a port director that is the election official and does not know the job or refuses to do his job correctly. He denied being the election official when he didn't want to do this job last July and now relishes the title. All of this begs for the question, is that what this is all about? Next year's elections? Thank you.
All right, next item. Discussion and possible action on results of internal audit for the following leaseholds. Then we're gonna let Mr. Mills do that.
Right, couple members of the board got together and did a complete review on several properties that were noted in public releases and newsletters and things were circulated around Facebook pages and so on and so forth. They were specifically targeting certain properties that supposedly were not handled appropriately. So this basically this I'm going to give you a summary of what this group did. The group consisted of Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Kennedy. In the past 24 months, there have been numerous allegations of inappropriate to illegal transactions made by the Willacy County Navigation District. The board has taken the initiative to research the files on these transactions specifically. They looked at the following items. Was the lease signed by all parties, including board representatives? The name of the board representative? Was the price paid in line with the board's expectations? Were there other considerations spelled out in the lease? Was the notification given to the county appraisal district? Were there any loan agreements involving WCND? Were all loan agreements satisfied? And were there any oddities noted in the transaction? Those are the items that they looked at on each of these files. So the files that are listed are block 1, 5 through 12, which is the blue building over, which is now belongs to Mr. Cobb. That one was found to be completely clear and there was no improprieties noted. The second one is the area adjacent to Laguna Madre Bait and Tackle. That one also was gone through with a fine tooth comb. As you can tell by the size of this folder, this one's been around for many years. And it has no improprieties were noted in that one as well. The next one on the list is the area at the end of the harbor where the little cutout is, where there's a barge ramp there from when there was a shrimp boat repair facility there. That one was found to have some improprieties as far as the person doesn't have authorization to have a residence there, and they do. But other than that, all other items in that transaction seem to be accurate. And the last one is the area at the end of the harbor where the harbor dead ends. Right down here at the bottom of the screen there, bottom of the picture, where that little tongue sticks out. That transaction was presented and all those items that I discussed were reviewed and were no improprieties noted on that one as well. So all of those items were investigated and reviewed. The only other item that was brought to anybody's attention was resurfaced again last month, was allegations that were made that we had changed our position on, Mansfield Point. We have not. We found documentation last year when it was asked of our staff, that reflected there were some errors. And it turns out that at further investigation, those errors were in our bookkeeping from the way back in 2004, 2005, not current. Our current staff went through the files repeatedly, and after about 5 months, were able to locate all the transactions. So that one has been found to be accurate. That is,
It's not on the item.
what, I'm sorry?
It's not here on the.
No, it is not listed as that.
Why is it here on the?
Because
agenda?
it wasn't listed as one of the properties that these two
I
gentlemen.
requested last meeting for.
I understand what you requested.
And I also had requested that one just to clarify and clear it up.
Okay, I want
Yeah.
it talked about. I requested that, okay? Do y'all understand that?
Mark.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Just to confirm Mr. Brown's comment, as we were looking at because I was,
How long do you have to look at it, okay?
okay, let me,
Look at
let, Mark,
20 years.
let me,
Look at it
let me
20
finish.
How long do you have to
Mark,
look at it?
let me finish what I'm gonna say. One of the things that we wanted to clarify is that everything was done. It was paid off and everything, so it could be cleared off and out of the way.
Okay, I want it in writing. okay?
And that's why, and that's why I'm,
And I want act.
and that's why, gentlemen, that's why I wanted to make sure that that was in here and that it was looked at because loan agreements, I mean, that was one of the issues that was, in election days, all of that. I wanted to we found that the evidence that it had been paid for, it would have been nice to have it on the agenda so that it's official, cleared and clean.
Which was what it was supposed to be.
Exactly.
Was
So,
not listed.
I was told
Yep.
it was gonna be on the.
Yeah. and I was
Yeah.
under the understand, and
Why wasn't it, Mr. Mills?
It wasn't on there because it wasn't.
Eric, do you want to repeat what you said?
Pardon me? I stood up. and-
Mark.
Mr. Brown.
Mark,
Please.
you said something about, I told him something, you made a comment right now.
I had told Mark that was going to be on the agenda.
Okay, and it wasn't on the
It's
agenda.
not on the
It's not
agenda.
one of those.
Okay,
properties.
and who made the decision for it not to be on the agenda?
Ron Mills did.
Okay,
He doesn't want to clear it up, okay? He
Okay.
doesn't want to clear it up and some of the other board members don't want to clear. it
again,
up, Okay?
I wanted it on the agenda because we had evidence that it had been cleared up and it paid for it and everything, like every other one. Why it wasn't, I think that's something that we as a commission needs to have a discussion with Ron as to why it was not on the agenda.
All of the files were gone through the same,
Exactly.
same, list of items we're looking for and all the different ones, whether it was
Sure.
Mr. Kenny or Mr. Brown or whatever. And all of Mr. Brown's, concessions on that
Yeah.
piece of property were done.
Yeah.
They were done according to what.
And that's why we wanted it on the agenda so that it's clear, done. and
that was
that's-
the purpose of doing it.
But somebody made a decision not to put it on the agenda, and I have an issue with that.
And
That's
this.
the way it's been for years. It hadn't come to a head and been on the agenda.
And we are going to make public notice in the newspaper that you asked for. That will be
Yeah.
done next week or this week or
Mhm.
whenever we can get it done.
Sure.
As soon as we can get it done, put it that way.
So in this discussion, let the record show that a property that was looked at was Mark Brown's property
Yeah.
and that everything was clear.
So, man.
Well, I mean, Mansfield's
The Mansfield.
Point, Mansfield's
Get
point,
away from it. It's Mansfield.
Mansfield's point that it was reviewed
Correct.
and that it was left out from the agenda, but that it was reviewed and that it's been cleared.
That is correct.
Let the record show that,
And I think,
Mansfield Point.
I think on the bottom of that page, Ron, it had the list of items we were gonna look at in there, another short couple of sentences at the
It
bottom.
says that the board can say with confidence that all leases transactions concerning Mr. Kenny and Mr. Brown were found to be legally executed and all agreements have been satisfied.
That's what'll go in paper. But we can
It's not.
modify that to list Mansfield Point specifically on there instead of Mr. Brown's property.
Oh, yeah.
On Mansfield Point.
That's why I do it by block and lot, not by.
Because there
You
was
can see why it was left off the agenda, okay? left
Yeah.
off the agenda because it wants to be left off. Right, Mr. Mills? You knew I was in the meeting last meeting, and I said I wanted it on the agenda.
I appreciate
Got
it.
left off again.
Mark.
Got left off again.
All right.
And my last question, and is our legal is here. Allison, you confirm that what they found was true and accurate?
I haven't looked at any of this.
We haven't looked at it. Oh, I'm not just-
We didn't see any reason for her to look at.
Okay, so there goes one of the conditions that when we had a discussion about doing an internal audit is that we look into it, but they would have legal look into and confirm that, yes, we found this receipt, yes, all of that. So now you're telling me that you didn't see any of this?
No, she did not see any of it because we didn't give it to her.
Well, but
We
that
didn't
wasn't.
see a need to.
Again, folks, I'm a commissioner, and one of the things that well, number one, we didn't want to spend an exorbitant amount of money for an external auditor to come in. And we all agreed that we could do it internally with the caveat that we would have somebody else other than us saying, yeah, it was there.
I'll tell you what, all of those folders are right
Yeah.
there in one spot.
Yeah.
You can take them with her. And before we print it in the public paper,
Yeah.
waiting for her concession on whether they're right or not.
Except for Mansfield Point.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go back and review Mansfield Point.
No, you reviewed it already.
Yeah.
That's
So I would include it in there as well. And all I need is someone out other than us to say, yep, what they saw was there, boom. That was the plan, folks. That was at least my understanding. I don't know about the other commissioners.
I understand. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I thought it was gonna be.
We're missing
Oh, that they
one step, and it's an easy step to do, I think.
Okay.
Right.
Then when it goes in the paper, it's gonna be by the board, not by Ron Mills.
By the board.
By the board that all of these properties are free and clear and nothing to do with
It's
it.
not involved.
Okay?
Right.
And we might even put in there that it was examined by our legal.
Well, that gives it strength.
I'll even put a little stamp.
A little bit of blood on.
Yeah.
Again, folks.
I guess.
You know what you're worried
It's
about.
a
People are
balance.
gonna come back and say, it's not right.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not here to
They
look
covered
at it.
up.
You need to look at them too.
Yeah, there would be a question in it if it was Janine, me and Lefty looking at them and doing the audit. That would be questioned. The first thing it would question us. So
All
yeah, I think
y'all are welcome.
legal
We
needs to
just
look
happen
over
to
it.
take the initiative
Oh,
and
no,
go do it.
I think it's more efficient
That need to be looked over.
committees as we did this, but I would like legal to say, yeah, what they saw, what they
We'll
presented.
get that done. We'll get that done. That's oversight
And,
on.
and with that, if I may, and Allison, correct me, can I make a motion to accept this with the condition that you review this and confirm that it's true in effect, and that we include Mansfield Point in this as well?
Yeah.
Okay, that motion made.
All right. Motion's made by Commissioner Trevino,
Second,
second by,
I'd like to amend that motion.
okay.
I'd like to amend it
Go ahead.
to state in the motion that it will be published in the Biloxi County paper.
I concur.
Okay.
Let's add that.
All right, motion second by Commissioner Reyes. All in favor,
Hi.
all opposed, motion carried. All right,
For doing this.
Thank
you all for doing this.
Presentation by a local nonprofit, Lower Laguna Madre Preservation Society on their creation goals and objectives.
Good morning. My name is Rhonda Kennedy, and I'm the chairman of a newly formed 501c3 nonprofit organization called the Lower Laguna Madre Preservation Society. The idea for this environmental organization began with some conversations in port with a lot of the port residents, and conversation was always about the Port Mansfield jetties and the bay. And we learned a lot about the people's different versions of the history of the jetties. And we also did a lot of talk about the bay conditions. And we noted that there was always problems with the bay before the jetties were dredged. And that the fishermen and the guides noticed a very big change in the bay, of course, after dredging, as it should be. Then last November, just before the election, Eric and I attended a meeting of the Baffin Bay stakeholders. This is a group that was formed over 10 years ago to address the pollution and the degradation of Baffin Bay. And they have made some amazing strides in improving Baffin. We decided right then that we should not wait until we have the same serious and possibly irreversible situation in the Lower Laguna Madre, so the time to take action is now. I began with a lot of research. Now I'm going to spare you all the scientific numbers of the salinity levels and the dissolved oxygen levels. But I will tell you that the design of the jetties was severely flawed from the beginning, and therein lies the basis of the problem with the silting. I've also reached out and I've contacted several other state and federal and even private agencies to assure that we are not trying to reinvent the wheel with our organization. Instead, what I found was just the opposite. There are no other organizations that solely focus on the Lower Laguna Madre or the Port Mansfield jetties. Now, there was one a few years ago, but they have now changed their scope of work and they only monitor the wastewater runoff that goes into the Brownsville Ship Channel. There were some studies that began with some of the universities in the Rio Grande Valley, but unfortunately, neither of those studies ever made it to completion. So in May of this year, we did file for and we did receive our 501c3 nonprofit status. Our mission statement and purpose is as follows. The Lower Laguna Madre Preservation Society is dedicated to exploring and developing long-term solutions to the hypersalinity levels of the Lower Laguna Madre, and by taking a proactive approach to preserving and protecting the Lower Laguna Madre by monitoring wastewater discharge that carries chemicals and pollutants into the Lower Laguna Madre. Also by monitoring unsafe hypersalinity water levels due to seawater restrictions, and by monitoring the seagrass, the wetland vegetation, and fish habitat loss and degradation. We also want to work for improving the fish health and reproductive success and improving the migratory bird health and reproductive success. Now, all of this combined, we are going to take a two-phase approach to. We will have two committees. One committee will monitor the wastewater runoff that comes through 5 Mile Creek, or otherwise known as 4 Mile Slough, or any other newly developed wastewater canal. The second committee will work with other agencies to develop and implement a plan to keep the jetties open. Since the jetties were constructed in 1957, it was immediately recognized that the construction was flawed. This flaw is the reason the silting occurs so quickly. In 1962, the Corps of Engineers rebuilt the jetties after the first one sunk. But however, the problem does still exist. The Army Corps of Engineers in 2015 conducted a study called the Brazos Island Harbor Inlet Study. In this study, they discussed a few approaches to this problem. The first conclusion they came to was just to let the pass close. But thankfully, they immediately recognized that that was not an option due to the serious environmental impact it would create. Another option that they looked at was an in-channel sediment trap. And the last option was structural changes to the jetties, including the seaward jetties, the interior jetties, and a jetty height modification. And by the way, the original plan for the jetties back in 1957 was to make the jetties 3 times longer than it currently is. So, and this is what we intend to focus on. So, with this information, we began contacting the Army Corps of Engineers in early July. And after several weeks of leaving messages and emails, they did finally return my call. After a lengthy conversation about our organization and our purpose, they have agreed to gather more information from 2 other research projects that are currently going on about the jetties. After they get all that information together, they have said that they would arrange to meet with us in just a couple of weeks. We, of course, will keep you and the public updated on anything we find. Now, currently, I'm not asking the Willacy County Navigation District for any assistance. This presentation was strictly to inform you of our organization's presence. When and if we get to the point where we are raising funds
for the restructuring of the jetties, we intend to do so with state and federal grants and private fundraisers. At this time, I would like to have a letter of support from the board of the Willacy County Navigation District for our efforts. In closing, I think we all know that this is one of only 6 Viper sailing bays in the world and the only one within the United States. And we believe that the Laguna Madre is the most overlooked U.S. national treasure that we have.
Amen.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, honey.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, moving on. Item 5, presentation by MPC Studios.
He had an automobile accident on the way this morning to be made.
He's here.
Corner.
On their abilities and position and support of the WCND emails, website, and live streaming.
Good morning.
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 Thank you very much for having me here today. I wanted to begin by taking a step back. A lot of times we get caught up in the drama and we forget to focus on what is important. So let me start by saying thank you. Wanted to express my gratitude to the people of Port Mansfield, people of Willacy County, to this board for allowing us to serve these last 11 years, and to Mr. Moore and the staff here at the Willacy County Navigation District. For the last 11 years, they have been an absolute joy to work with, nothing but professional and courteous, kind. We haven't had a single issue in 11 years. I asked to speak with you today, not to try to undo anything, but to share some additional insight. I have some additional perspectives I don't think you're aware of, and it may not change your opinion, but I hope it might change some of the tone, the conversation, and maybe some of the way that you perceive the events that have occurred here in the last few months. MPC is a small firm. We're 8 people. Most of my employees have been with me for over 20 years. We are best known for custom website and application development. We do not advertise. We don't cold call. We don't chase clients. People come to us because they like our work or they've heard that we're a very reliable firm to work with. We're at a stage where we only take on 2 or 3 new clients a year. That is still higher than our rate of attrition. And I think that's due to the fact that we try to take very good care of our clients. We do good work. We're responsive. We try to solve problems as quickly as they arise. And we try very hard to keep our clients happy. We have about 80 clients. They include a number of banks across the state of Texas, a number of universities, including Yale University, University of Texas at Austin, a number of manufacturers across several states, law firms, construction companies, municipalities, EDCs, CVBs, chambers of commerce, and dozens of small businesses. And once you're a client of ours, we make available a wide range of collateral marketing services, from press releases and advertising campaigns, brochures, and traditional advertising services. Like our employees, most of our clients have been with us for many, many years. In April, Mr. Wells reached out to us from Border Affairs. He said he was providing some public relations for the port and requested a copy of our agreement with the Willacy County Navigation District. After confirming with the district, we provided a copy to him. He had some follow-up questions that we answered. I'm going to summarize some of the key elements that I think are relevant from our agreement and from the follow-up questions and answers that we provided to him. From our agreement, you, the client, own the finished website. You have rights to use it exclusively for your business. You own the text, the photographs, and other data that you have provided. Your business has the rights to use that project in ways that you like, for brochures, PowerPoint presentations, proposals, newsletters. MPC Studios retains ownership of the source design. We retain ownership of the source code. You cannot transfer that contract to anyone without our permission. Either party may cancel the agreement with written notice. Mr. Wells responded to us that he needed some clarification on some follow-up. Does the client own the website, or is this a managed site? The website is part of a managed agreement. MPC Studios handles all hosting, all maintenance, all support and development. Fort Mansfield owns all text, all content, photos. Does the client own the domain? Whose account holds the domain? Fort Mansfield, the Willacy County Navigation District owns the domain. For convenience, MPC Studios retains control of the technical aspect of it. And the domain name is registered in the client's name. It can easily be transferred to a different registrar upon request. Aside from management support, what else is included in your plan? Our plan includes website hosting, server management, support for any updates, troubleshooting, 22 email accounts. We currently maintain 34, but we haven't charged anything extra. 36 hours annually, and after maintaining server updates, analytics, and email support, you have about 20 to 22 hours remaining each year. And those can be used for any type of updates, support, enhancements to the website. We provide flexibility for the client. We're always trying to make sure that you're happy. If there is additional work that goes over the hours that you have available, we rarely charge extra. In fact, in your case, we've never charged you extra for overages. And there are several examples I have available. You keep a log of actual use. If we start building new components, we need to know, is there a credit for any unused service time? What is the hourly rate? So if we decide to implement, what is the hourly rate? So we can decide if we want to implement all of our changes at once or develop the changes as time allocates. To me, this indicated he understood clearly that MPC Studios does the updates to the website. Yes, we do track usage, time usage. Unused time does not accrue. That being said, historically, we've been very generous of how we interpret that usage, especially with long-term clients like the Willacy County Navigation District. If a significant update is needed, we're very likely to accommodate it at no additional cost. In fact, just 18 months ago, we did a complete redesign to your website, a little over 80 hours. We used 20 hours that you had available, unused hours that you had available in support time. The remaining 60 plus hours, we contributed. We didn't charge anything extra. We did so because your site needed to be current and attractive. Are there any other recommendations not currently in place? Yes, we're always considering ways to strengthen the site's value. And then we listed a number of enhancements, improved ADA compliance upgrades, automated newsletter campaigns tied into email opt-in system, expanded online payment features. So for community events or permits, we had one time had recommended we promote the fishing tournament on the website. It was explained to me at that time, and with perfect logic, that the fishing tournament is a Chamber of Commerce project. They do a very good job of promoting the project. My experience is that when you have an EDC and a CVB and a Chamber of Commerce, everybody has their turf in a community. And they all work and play well together. But when one entity starts to carve off too much turf of another entity, then you're going to see some public drama. So it made perfect sense that the Willacy County Navigation District would focus on Willacy County Navigation District issues. In April, Mr. Wells had our agreement. He understood our contractual assignments. He knew that we owned the source design. He knew that we owned the source code. He knew that we were responsible for implementing any changes to the website, and that there were support hours available and an expressed willingness by our company to provide any changes or enhancements that were necessary. That was all clear back in April. He had a list of enhancements that we provided. We were ready to assist with anything necessary. We were prepared to make those changes. We then received a request or a demand rather for administrative access to the website. Administrative access to source code by a third party is absolutely prohibited at our company. It is nothing personal. It's not us being stubborn. This is about strict security compliance, liability, and contractual relationships. Years ago, we learned that there were two things most companies like ours were failing miserably on. And if we could do those two things correctly, it would separate us and differentiate us from our competitors. The first one we identified was that developers did not care about maintaining the integrity of a website after delivery. To this day, the common practice with most web companies is to build a website, give it to the client, and wish them good luck. And within a few months, the clients start to wonder why their website isn't looking as good as it used to. As a matter of fact, it's because multiple people then start contributing to the design of the website. And they may all have good intentions, but you have different visions. They all break the style guide, and people may not be able to identify what it is that makes the website no longer look professional, but it does. It starts to look like a quilt bound together from multiple pieces of cloth. So the second thing we identified is that most developers don't take security seriously. We do. We don't ever let security certificates expire. We implement properly how data, secure data like credit cards gets gathered, gets stored, gets transmitted. These things all matter. We started doing those two things correctly, and it changed the trajectory of our company. We've been able to get on clients that I never dreamed possible. And we do everything in our power to protect our clients. Working with a third party is nothing new to us. We've done it dozens of times. We've worked with PR consultants. We've worked with auditors, political advisors, other advertising agencies. This level of control that we have, that we demand on, that it's contractually responsible to us, is always taken for granted. Because for serious developers, this level of secure control is a positive, not a limiting factor. Administrative access should be guarded as if it were the most critical aspect of your website, because it is. However, clients still want to be able to make changes and edits to their website. That makes perfect sense. That's why there is a level of access to the website called editor access. With the editor access, you are allowed to do a number of things to a website. It gives you secure access to edit any text on the website, to alter the search engine optimization features of a website, to add and edit articles, to post press releases, blog posts, news items. It has the ability to add photos and videos. You can do 99% of everything you need to do to a website via editor access. In fact, if you are experienced and knowledgeable about the Webflow platform, there's many features that may not even be enabled on a website that are available to an editor access if they just get turned on. And anyone who is knowledgeable about Webflow would know that. We make ourselves available to implement anything that is not available to an editor access, and you have time. So by the end of April, we had granted Mr. Wells with full editor access. He had access to edit any of the content on the website that he wanted to. He could post articles, he could post videos and photos. He could request any new features that he wanted to, and we would be happy to implement them. In fact, he didn't have to do anything. We would have done any of the changes on his behalf. We provided him access to our portal so that any changes that he needed to have done could be submitted directly to us. All of this was clear. This is the same process that we use for every single one of our clients. Every bank, every manufacturer, they all use the same process. This is nothing new. 2 months went by. In June, we received a notification, within that period of time, nothing had been done. There were no changes to the website. The editor access had been provided. No edits had been made. No requests were made to us, period, other than administrative access to the source code, which was clearly articulated, is not going to happen. It's in our contract. In June, we received notice that access had expired. This immediately triggered a security concern internally. My first impression was that this involved admin access. That would have been a serious internal breach. We reset a number of passwords. I reacted out of an abundance of caution. It turns out it was only editor access that had expired. And the cause was because 2 months had gone by without anyone trying to utilize the editor access feature. We reissued the editor access. It is still available today. It is still unused until this day. In June, Mr. Wells had our agreement. He knew the terms. He knew the ownership of our source code, of our source design. He had full editor access. He had portal access. He knew of our willingness to make any changes necessary, and that support time was available. We were ready to assist. We received no changes. No changes were made. But in June, he stood right here and he told you that MPC Studios was preventing him from making changes to the website. He did not tell you he had full editor access and that he had not used it. He did not tell you that he had portal access and that there were available hours for us to implement those changes and that we had expressed our willingness to do so. By July, no changes were made. No attempt had been made to do any edits to the website. Yet once again, he informed you that MPC Studios was preventing him from making changes to the website. This simply was not true. This was also the meeting where a design concept was presented for the Port Mansfield United concept, and where discussion was made about pointing multiple domains to the Port Mansfield website. Now, the design concept, although the idea, it's a great idea, it's a fine idea. It had nothing to do with the approved design and style guide of the existing website and implementing it directly into the existing site design. Although no one may appreciate it, it would create a jarring user experience. We would be happy to take that concept and integrate it into the website so that everything flows nicely and looks cohesive and looks professional. I mean, from my perspective, one of the primary purposes of the website is to be attractive to potential economic site selection consultants. We want them to have a pleasant experience when they get to the website also. More importantly, the idea of pointing multiple domains to the website is a very dangerous idea. It could completely sabotage your search engine rankings. You currently rank #1 across all search engines for the term Port Mansfield. I think that's important not to toy with casually. Those rankings can be impacted by somebody casually editing the content on the website if they don't know what they're doing also. There was nothing presented in the design that we could not implement safely and correctly. But rather than utilize us, the decision was made to circumvent us. I don't know why. And the message was clear. We were preventing him from making changes to the website. After that meeting, I was frustrated, but I still reached out in what I thought was a good faith effort. I mentioned my concerns about the design that was presented potentially crossing into commercial activity. There's nothing wrong with that on the surface. but these were not links. These were not links. This went beyond that. It is worthy of discussion and exploration to make sure that whatever we're thinking about implementing does not jeopardize our transition into .gov compliance. That's all. I did make a suggestion of the possibility of creating a commercial website, Port Mansfield United, called Port Mansfield United, where we could have all of that commercial activity. And then on the district's website, we could create a big piece of real estate on the homepage where we promote that element and bring people over there. Just brainstorming is all I was trying to do. The response I received back, I won't get into the details that are not relevant. The relevant part was what I took as a direct threat of imminent legal action by this board against NPC Studios, blaming us for no public relation fulfillment over the previous months. Why? Because we had refused to provide unfettered, unsecure administrative level access to a third party that had no contractual obligation, that gave us no contractual protection to anything that might happen to the website. So unfettered access while we retain all of the liability. I have never to this day seen anything that he's done, any of his work. I haven't seen a single website. I've heard reference that in the April meeting that Board of Affairs had done work for Mercedes and San Benito. And there may be work I'm unaware of, but our client is Mercedes EDC, Mercedes Timber. Our client is San Benito Economic Development. So perhaps there are other websites I'm unaware of, but I have not seen any of their work. I've not seen any of their experience in Webflow. Some of the things that I have heard indicate that they are not as familiar with Webflow as they might believe they are. These are important things. I believed his threat or his implied threat was credible. I believe that he was speaking on behalf of and with the approval of this board. I have never in 27 years been involved with litigation with any client. I have never in 27 years had to terminate the relationship with a client. And I agonized over the weekend. I didn't know what to do. I felt backed into a corner. I wanted to reach out. And are you suing me? I don't think that would have been a wise idea. I did what I thought was the only recourse that I had available, and I submitted our notice. I did not want to. I still don't want to. I like this client. I like this project. I like the work that we've done for you. And I am always open and receptive to hearing any complaints. I've heard a complaint, or let me call it an observation, of the quality of the written content on the website. It's the first time I've heard anything critical. I'm more than willing to address that. How can we improve it? I'm open-minded. I learn new things every day. We still make mistakes. I try to acknowledge it when I do so that I can be a better employer, a better provider, a better person. And I probably made a number of mistakes throughout these last 4 months. I didn't stand up sooner. I didn't make a big deal sooner. I didn't speak louder. You know, we're a team of introverts. And conflict is not something I'm accustomed to. And I hold no ill will against Mr. Wells. I really don't. It's hard to run a business. I'm sure that, you know, Emmett thought he was doing what was best for his company and for what he'd been assigned. I still don't know what he was assigned. I don't know what his role was, what his job was. I mean, we're one of the best website companies you'll find anywhere. So I don't know why somebody who has as little experience would be brought in to be the new web developer or tell us what to do. Just tell us what you want. Tell us what you need. Let us do our job. You have time available. But don't force us to give you unauthorized, unfettered access to ask for full control over the website, over the code, while we retain full liability. That's not right. I'm open-minded. If this board wants us to continue in our capacity, I will happily rescind our notice. If it's time to move on, I respect that. Those things happen. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the last 11 years. I hope we have 11 more. Thank you. Thank you, board, and thank you for allowing us to do the work we've done to the people of Fort Mansfield and Melissa County.
Thank you, Dave. Next item, presentation by Border Affairs LLC, a performance report and action items.
Bit of presentation. First and foremost, I'm gonna address some of those things that you mentioned. For all clarification purposes, there is a lot of things that I agree with, some of the things that it said, especially in the last 4 minutes. There is a stuff of business to do business, to own your own business and to go about and do it in the way that we've been trying to do it.
Can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is, I will agree with the latter part of his statements. It is tough to do it shelf. It is tough to put a business together and to agree with people or disagree with other people. It's a tough business, but we're here to do it. And there is a lot of misinterpretation, miscommunication in some of the things that he said. At points, I thought he was comparing an apple to an orange. But here's the point to all this. We've been trying for 3.5 months to get to a table and sit with the man that just presented to you. Multiple times, I've asked him for those meetings. I've been here asking to meet with NBC Studios. Multiple times I've said, you have a great relationship with NBC Studios. You have a great relationship with that provider. You have two providers, one of them that's trying to do one thing, Border Affairs, and then you have another provider that's already been doing something for 11 years. These are agents of yours. These are employees of yours. For the last 3.5 months, there have been communications, in fact, multiple comprehensive emails going back and forth in which your director has been copied on. If I was in charge of any operation, and I'm looking at this for 3.5 months, and I'm looking at this board as my employee Emmett Wells trying to say one thing, and him NBC trying to say another thing, and then going back and forth and back and forth, and we're trying to get access at the same time, and I'm trying to satisfy my jobs and duties and the things that you've asked me to do here, and I can't get that done, and it's been expressed multiple times for 3.5 months. If I was in charge of that opera and I was watching what my employees were doing for 3.5 months, wouldn't it be logic and reason to sit down with these two employees and say, can we get together? This is the first time I see this man. And I've been asking, in fact, begging to see this man so that I can move forward on what you've asked me to do. So I'm hoping that we can clarify, look at this, look at these differences that we've been discussing via email, and sit down comprehensively and come to an agreement with what they're trying to do. He said a lot of the things. Let me clear it and be on the record on one thing. We have never implied or indicated that we are seeking any legal recourse or remedy on anybody's behalf. That's not our job. That's not our duty. To put it in perspective and to look at it in another way, In a way, what we were trying to say is you hired us, and I'll talk figuratively now, you hired us because your plumbing is messed up, there's a water leak on your roof and it's dripping down. That's the way we see the problem. Now, all we want to do is get in the house and fix it.
Okay, your part on the agenda is to inform us of what you've done so far. We've already heard your presentation and we appreciate that.
Fantastic. Okay, what we've done is we have submitted 3 emails, three requests for multiple meetings, including one individually with every member, so that we can start putting together the game plan for the website. I've also asked Ron so I can meet with him so that I can say, hey, listen, NPC may or may not come to an end. We need to start talking about the transition. And I've done that twice and no response to that. And you already know that I submitted a proposal that wasn't on your table in the last meeting. We reviewed that again. Aside from that, we started an analysis that Emmett here is going to talk about so that you can understand better and understand the hope, this transition, not transition, or the part of the communication or part of the interpretation that NPC put together.
Thank you. Welcome. I appreciate everybody's time today. And I'm hoping to provide as neutral clarity or understanding about how this whole situation has been interpreted as some kind of a conflict. I want to clarify and start off by saying, when you assess the scope of work between these 2 vendors, there is no conflict. Okay, there are completely separate scopes of work. There's for this to have gone on the distance it has, it's absolutely baffling. The only thing I can tell you, if you want to have a simple answer as to why we're 3 months along and where we are, from the point in which we were given the access that NPC refers to, which I'll provide clarity on, what you won't find is a single email or communication from your director to help solve this problem. He's allowed the other vendor to take responsibility of communicating with us. He's allowed the vendors to fight it out, if you will, and create a basis of conflict that simply doesn't exist. And so we've got try and help the port, and I've got several copies. What I have, and I'm not going to waste everybody's time by reading it because I'm actually providing you a written document rather than reading off my phone. Specifically, what it takes to clarify some of these points that have been made about security concerns and so forth. And I apologize because you talk about website stuff, it gets a little technical, but your website is on a platform called Webflow, right? As your vendor has mentioned. And I want to clarify that your vendor, NPC Studios, has an amazing reputation, okay? They have been in the business as long as websites have been built. They have been doing this for a very long time, and I have no doubt as to their capacities or capabilities, okay? There is, I cannot emphasize enough that we should not even be having this conversation and wasting the board's time with research on trying to parse out the reality from the myth, okay? And so Webflow is a platform that nobody, not an owner of a website, not an owner of subscription, has access to their server. The concept of the security breach, et cetera, and again, I will have this is in writing, and I'll have copies for everybody, so y'all can review this at your own time. But what you're going to find is there is absolutely no veracity, no truth to us having some risk of going in and doing funny things. We asked for, what he gave us was editor access, and he is absolutely right. We can change words and we can change pictures. What we can't do is add pages. We can't change the what's called the mapping of the site and how people navigate and get around to do things. And in order to improve the functionality of the site, we have to have beyond word and picture access. It's quite simple. And so the big question has been, well, if you give us more than editor, well, then they're going to be able to go in and do all this kind of crazy stuff. It's simply not the case. And again, I'll let the clarification provide you. But we asked for admin, which will get us where we need to get. But there's one more access that Webflow allows, which is called a designer editor, which will also allow us this access, which does not get us what admin access, what I believe the vendor is concerned about, and I would respect his reluctance, is that Admin also gives us the ability to look at his personal accounts and his other business that he has, and we don't want that. We don't want to have anything to do with that. We simply want to be able to go and make adjustments to the page beyond words and pictures. Now, that process works in a very simple fashion. And one of the things I hear from the community and from the board, if you boil down the concerns about the messaging behind the PR program or the board not being aligned or whatever these items are, it all boils down to a lack of transparency and communication. And the only way that a program like this works and functions, we have ideas about what we'd like to be able to provide. And in our very first presentation of our Port Mansfield United, we specified that we are going to rely heavily on the community of Port Mansfield to help us build wonderful content. Because as the director had stated in an email to him, as we're trying to gather data so that we can exclusively promote the port as it should be our primary function. His response in email was, we've done nothing in 12 months. We have nothing going on and we have no future plans of project. Is that correct, Ron? Okay. And is that still the case right now?
I'm gonna stop you. We appreciate all the information, but you've presented this to us 2 or 3 times. The reason you're on the agenda is to tell us what you've done in the last 4 months.
Okay.
But at the same time, let me interject, but at the same time, what I'm hearing as a commissioner is if in his report of what he has done and anything that has impeded from him, I want to know.
Well, I think he already told us that when we had.
I understand that, but he's
The only
highlighting some things.
communication we've had with the navigation district in a productive fashion, unfortunately, is standing at this podium. And none of this is going to get done. It's not going to get completed if we can't get your director's attention. In our very first meeting, when we came on board, we asked him to have weekly meetings as we rolled things out and got started. You will not find any communication from your director facilitating that. We asked that at some point we would transition to maybe every 2 week or every monthly. You will not find any communication from your director facilitating that. And so I will tell you that from the ability to execute what you've asked us to do, I'm at a loss as to frankly how this board functions, because my understanding is that you give a directive to your director and then he executes that. And we have not had access to the director. The director has seemed to allow us to fight it out with another vendor in which we have no conflict of interest with. And we're at a standstill is frankly where it's at. And we're spending more time trying to dispel the nonsense that's happening between 2 vendors that should not have a conflict with each other, rather than doing the work that you've asked us to do.
Right.
So in short, in summary, I'm going to provide this because you're going to find that we've actually also provided y'all with the instructions on how, and again, I will tell you that if NPC, this is your relationship between you and your vendor. If they decide to continue to manage your site, that's perfectly fine with us. We have no conflict with that. We simply need to be able to go in and do the modifications to the site. Ultimately, I think that the simpler question that the board should present itself, and that is, you've asked us, our scope of work includes making modifications to the website. Your current vendor, okay, is saying, well, we'd rather do that ourselves. Both vendors can do it. And the concept behind the reluctance to do it is complete internal policy, and it's his company and his prerogative to do that. The concern becomes, what's the navigation district's decision? If you choose for him to do it, we'll work with him and we'll provide him with the guidance and direction so that he gets it done. This is such a non-issue. He says that he works with other third parties, as do we. Don't want to belabor the pedigree part of this, but yes, we're very familiar with Webflow. We have multiple websites on multiple types of code. None of this is new to us. We're not uncomfortable with any of these things. And again, when you read the clarification, you'll find that there's no issue here. Simply decide as a board who's going to do the website work, and then we can proceed. Now, what I would ask the board to do, because here we are 3 months later, and there's people on this board and the community that are saying, how come this thing isn't, well, some of them are saying, what is this all about anyways? And some are saying, why are we even doing this? So here's what I would recommend us to do so that we can start to be productive. Okay, well, number one, I would require that your director schedule a meeting with us within the next 5 working days. All right, ABC can be there, whatever the board decides on who's gonna do what, it's perfectly fine. We'll work in whatever parameter you want. When the PR campaign is created, it has to have a unit, it has to have a core, which is the website. We have to put this information somewhere. That needs to be a collaborative effort, whether that's participating board members that would like to have input, whether we have key community folks that would like to have input on the direction or the purpose. That needs to be a group discussion. We've even created an outline for that conversation so that it can be scheduled, it could be monitored, and it could be reported in the board's meeting. So we're just standing, waiting to be deployed to get this done. That collaborative effort takes place. Then what we do is we create an actual plan, page by page, to show what we intend to do. And I would, because it was brought up in the last meeting, where we said there was a suggestion that our services did not include creating content. I want to give you clarification on that. When we say that we don't create content, that is purely a custodial point. We create content. If our clients don't have content, we create content. And even if they do create content, we optimize it so that it uses the words that Google likes to see so that traffic goes there. But all content, all images, and I'm sure the board would respect this and appreciate this, are the ownership and they're the custody of the owner of the website. And so even though we create the content, we provide it for your draft review, revision, and approval so that ultimately when we say we don't own the content, this is for indemnification purposes. This is so that there's a clear understanding that anything written on the website goes through the board first, it goes through legal counsel, et cetera. And that we will carry this from start to finish. All that's happened right now, what we're staring at is you've got a website like a house that you've entrusted into a property management company, and you've asked us to go in and do the plumbing, but they're the ones that hold the key. And they said, no, we don't trust you to come in and do the plumbing because you could screw up the wiring or something. This is for the board to decide. We have no conflict with these folks. And the only other elaboration, because it's a concern from a legal standpoint, I assure you, if anyone reads the email that I sent to him, it starts and ends with, we have no conflict. There's no reason for us to be having an issue. And what you're going to read is that as he clarified that you are owners of the website. He's refusing to allow the owner to allow a vendor to go into the site. And in my case, as it been the case, if I did that to an owner of a website, the owner would have an issue with me. Okay. Now, I'm not an attorney. I do not give legal advice, and I certainly did not suggest somebody who's going to get sued. I clearly, after conversation with the board, I misspoke and I did not phrase it properly. It was out of vendor to vendor guidance to say we're on dangerous ground here, but that was never my intent. And if any retraction or correction needs to take place, I took full responsibility for that. Because in no way did I ever have any guy on this board suggest that there was going to be some kind of a ramification or issue. It's not my position to make that suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
got a comment or question, I guess. So NPC is not allowed, which last meeting you said that severely delayed your implementation of new stuff. Now, Mr. Mills has not done what he needed to. So let me ask this question. Do you feel like we have control over Facebook?
Absolutely not. I
Whoa,
will
whoa,
tell
whoa,
you,
whoa, whoa. How about Instagram? How about Twitter?
what is it that you
How
want?
about LinkedIn?
What do you want control over?
No, I said, do you think we have that control over those?
Do we have one?
I will tell you that somebody in this board does.
Do we have
because
those
within
platforms?
24 hours,
Well,
within
so let me-
24 hours.
Let me finish my statement.
Okay.
We have a 90-day content calendar. Okay, and it lists that, like, day 2, Instagram and Twitter, you're gonna have some graphics and hashtags and so forth.
Mhm.
So the first 12 days, all of these places, the Twitter, the local newspaper op-eds, Instagram, YouTube, all of these things you said you were gonna do in the first 12 days, 3.5 months ago, haven't been done yet.
Would you like a clarification on it, or do I need to
Sure,
respond
I
with yes
just
or
wanna
no?
know, does MPC not allow you to do that or what?
You're gonna let me to
Yeah.
respond? All right. Okay, so as most of the community is up in arms about, is that even the brand, the name Port Mansfield United has yet to be approved by anyone.
It's not gonna be approved, so.
Okay.
Move on to Port.
Well, I wouldn't say that because it is a,
See,
but Steve,
give you
it-
the clarification.
whether it's an approve or not, it needs to be on an agenda item and then be acted on. Not one person makes that decision.
If I may, PR campaign relies upon one primary thing, and that is the unity of the message. And I will tell you, with all due respect to this board, that does not exist right now, okay? And the first thing that needs to take place is that message needs to be agreed upon. We don't make Facebook pages, we don't make social media pages before we agree on the message and the tone and the purpose behind the campaign. Now, what happened though is within 24 hours of us presenting this inside this room, people in this community, which I will tell you are friends or possibly relatives of folks that are in this room, have gone out and took this name and they created social media pages and they're using it in a derogatory fashion. All right. So the way trademark infringement works, the way that happens in the social media world is very first thing that the board needs to do is agree on the brand, agree on the message. Okay. If you're going to have a PR campaign, which I believe has already been voted and approved, if that's not the case, it's none of my business. But if we are going to move forward with a PR campaign, it starts by having a brand, because that brand becomes a trademark ownership of the Willacy County Navigation District. Okay. And at that point, I'm no attorney, but in the eyes of Facebook and Instagram and social media, you own that. Right. And so if anybody goes out there and attempts to impersonate you, this falls under trademark or copyright infringement in the eyes of social media. So if we were in a court, if we did have an agreement with a brand of a messaging that we wanted, we could petition for the ownership to be turned over. Now that is long and laborious. And if you want to ask why we continue to have delays, aside from lack of access to the director, I will tell you that having this subterfuge amongst the group is also kicking this down the road. If you're going to take the name of the campaign that we're attempting to promote, which again, I promise, if anybody in this room sat down and asked the questions to understand the strategy or the purpose behind it and the malleability, the flexibility of this message, I think that we'll all ease up a bit. We'll all feel a little more comfortable about the purpose. That said, if you're going to allow somebody in your community to turn around, there's people in this room that could call the person who made those pages.
Wait a minute. You're saying that we actually know who did that.
I'm not saying you
That's
don't.
what you just said.
I'm
I
not
don't
saying
appreciate that. I know the people sitting in here don't appreciate it. We don't have any idea who did it.
We have the ability to reach out to them and say, hey, guys.
Who? We don't know who did it.
But can we find out who did it?
It says anonymous. I don't know how you find out.
I didn't want to have a conflict in this room.
Yeah,
And out of professionalism, I can get into detail later, but I can tell you that if we have to go the hard way, there's two options. We have 6 other brand names that we can use. Okay.
What's wrong with Port Mansfield?
Well, that's a discussion that we can have. Okay. And
It's
again,
already established. Everybody knows that, go there to find out the information.
well,
Pay your bills. Yeah, well, there's all kinds of community people putting stuff on Facebook that says yo and nay or whatever. But the point is, I asked, we don't control that. MPC doesn't control that. Y'all said this is what you're gonna do, and so far I haven't seen anything done. $18,000 worth for what?
we're needing approval on the brand, and you've just said you'll never approve any brand. Okay, that social media posting schedule is a guide. We don't have the content yet. As I said in the last meeting, my intent is once we have the direction, we're having a community conversation. We're having a conversation with business owners and people that want to be influential so that we do have social media. That social media content, quite candidly, is filler. It is nonsense and it's not relevant to anybody in this group or this community. The real content that people are going to want to read is coming from the community. That's what the content is. And right now,
Who have you talked to down there? Who have you talked to important about their input?
well, when I went in and promoted the fishing tournament,
Right.
right? I went in and spoke to the chamber. I had a conversation with about 6, 7 members informally with the chamber at the event. And I had very positive response. They were optimistic. They thought it was a great idea. You know, we're wanting to start to unify the purpose of the message, at least line everybody up and start facing in the same direction, which is not the responsibility of a PR campaign for a harbor development. But because we have such dysfunction, we have so much dysfunction that even an attempt to say positive things about Horace Mansfield has resulted in someone kidnapping the name and creating social media pages, and not only creating social media pages, but they're posting derogatory comments about this board.
Absolutely. We don't like that either.
Right.
And I mean, I don't take,
I don't like being accused of doing it.
So
You basically accused either one of the residents or us of doing that.
Somebody did it.
take offense to that.
Somebody did
I honestly don't take offense to that comment that you made. Somebody did do it and I don't take offense to that comment. So
you can look at the followers of the pages and get a pretty clear understanding of
there's the,
But let me ask you a question. This is for clarification. And I'm trying to wrap my head around this thing. One of the reasons, and Steve, you laid out the things that they were gonna do in 12 days. And this is my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong. That one of the reasons these things haven't happened is because they can't happen unless you have a unified message, theme, whatever you wanna call this thing that says, these are the things we're gonna promote in these social media outlets.
That's step
You
one.
don't have that, so how can you create these things? That's what I'm hearing you say. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I do want to make a statement that whenever we're saying community, it's not just Port Mansfield. Community is Willacy County,
We all get taxed.
the taxpayer.
I'm a taxpayer.
Fourth generation Willacy County resident. My grandparents lived to 96 years old. 70 years of those 96, they paid taxes.
My dad just
My
celebrated, he has a 103rd year birthday, and he has been paying taxes for Willacy County Navigation District since then,
and I know I'm
or a good majority of that time.
to be able to own a home here and over there, but yet I pay taxes over there. So the community doesn't just belong to Port Mansfield. It belongs to the taxpayers of Willacy County. And that's who I represent, Raymondville. So that's who it belongs to as well. So I would like for that to be included in this community conversation
I
in the
would,
future,
I would
just to
provide
put that
you,
down.
if I could, I'll just provide you with a go forward plan of what needs to happen so that we can stop having conversations about how things aren't taking place, being presented by the people who are not helping to facilitate and support the ability for us to move forward.
Okay,
Okay,
right.
thank you. Emmett.
Thank you.
I'm confused. This is,
Let's move on.
yeah. Discussion possible action on the working contractual relationship between WCND, MPC Studios and Border Affairs.
So just as a discussion, again, trying to summarize, I'm listening to everything and I come down to one conclusion. And one conclusion, and I'm looking at it at the standpoint of my job, where I work and what I'm responsible for. If these things were happening, I would expect, and I work for a school district, I can assure you the superintendent will call both of us in and said, let's hash this thing up. Let's fix it. But that didn't happen. And because it didn't happen, it began to fester and do these things.
Why did it not happen?
Well, because and I'm gonna say it,
or
no, because our director didn't call it in. We have a director that should bring in these people and say, let's see what's going on here.
No, I mean, this has gotten, to me, it's gotten way out.
Yeah,
All the discussions that were presented that I was party to were all technical related and they were disagreements on how to do procedure. So, it's outside, I don't know what level of a disagreement they're having until the last note went about.
And I don't understand all that anyways.
And
The
so,
bottom line, yeah, let me finish my thought here. The bottom line is this: one, I think we need to look at, what role did we play so that we could have stopped this thing? The good news is both parties are willing to work with each other.
absolutely.
I think, if MPC says, hey, I have no problems working with that and with this other entity, and this other entity says, I have no problems. All we need is X, Y, and Z, because that's what we told you we were gonna do in this contract, then I'm okay with that. But it can continue business as usual. And this goes to the third thing that I've concluded. Number one, it's not me, it's not one person in this commission making the decisions. I don't have the authority or the power to say, we're never gonna do that. We is not we is us. And the only way we do business is when it's on the agenda and we all vote on it. This is the other thing. If we vote on doing this, that's what we're gonna do. And that's what I expect the director to carry on. There's gonna be times, and I've been an elected official since age 23 in school districts. And there was many times where I didn't agree with what was voted on. Guess what? I still supported it after the vote came down.
I think what it kind of boils down to, the way I see it, is you got two different companies that can basically do the same thing.
Well, not necessarily. No.
Yes.
The same thing on web and all of that. Yes.
And the PR.
No, I disagree with that.
I'm
I'm gonna disagree with that.
You need PR.
I'm gonna disagree with that. Well, that goes back to our strategic plan, and I think we need to revisit that one as well.
I'm gonna say why I think so. I think so because there's a bigger picture that we need to look at. Port Mansfield is a port. It's supposed to be a port. And what is a port? I looked it up just to give you what a port is. And it's not a fishing community. That's not what a port means. To be called port, no, I even looked it
And
up.
that's why that is not why I'm being taxed in La Sara.
Yeah.
I go fishing.
Even asked if it was
Padre,
fishing and
I
it
go
was,
fishing at Arroyo, I go fishing at Bay, they don't tax me.
Well, here's my point. If we want to improve the image of this board and we're all together, we need to start doing things that people in Port Mansfield want done.
No, we need to start doing the thing that.
We need to fix
Hey,
roads, and we need to fix boat slips, and we need to fix drainage. That's what our tax dollars are for.
No,
irrigation district.
no, but no,
I'm not fixing anything in LaSarre. We're not fixing anything in Raymondville.
I disagree with that, Eric.
What do you disagree? We
Let me-
pay money to fix drainage in Raymondville?
Let me explain this. Why is La Sara being taxed? Because when the state statute was passed to create a port for port
I
commerce,
understand all that.
well, that's the cornerstone.
Know it, but what is that tax money supposed to be
It's
for?
supposed to be
It was built, they did that so they could build the port.
to promote the port, not the community. The community is a residue of that.
Okay, so if you don't have a port if you don't have roads, you don't have a port if you don't have drainage.
Okay, but the port is the port right there. And we can, and what I've always been saying, we can do both, not one or the other.
Well,
You don't get that without bringing in business. How are you gonna do that? There's a bigger picture. We're looking at the big picture. That's how I see
big
it.
picture.
Bringing in commercial business. That's what a port, then we need to take away the name Port Mansfield.
You said it a while ago. How many people were in Port Mansfield this weekend?
Not very
Lots are
On
overflowing.
a Sunday, not very, no, there weren't that many on Sunday.
It's that way every weekend.
I know, it was just,
Thursday night till Sunday afternoon.
Bring anything into,
but that's not the
Taxation.
reason, Eric. Eric, that's not the reason why the rest of us are being taxed. And that's one thing you're not understanding.
Get this.
Need to ask the state of Texas to go back to 3 and y'all don't have.
Get the legislation
You
changed.
know what? You know what? I would be okay with that.
He's fine, he's okay.
I would be okay with that. Don't tax, guys, folks, let me tell you.
I don't disagree with you with
Let me
that.
go on record, and every commissioner has its point. Number one. If I totally agree that the community should have its control. I agree. La Sara should have it, Harlingen. I agree with that. There's no quarrel with that. I'm just gonna speak for myself, Stacy. Okay. You don't want me to have a say in Port Mansfield navigation, at the navigation district? Great, just don't tax us.
Well, I didn't say we didn't want you to have a say. We We want you to have a say.
There's no
There's gotta be things
no
that,
taxation without representation.
and I'm not arguing that.
Be one, it's gotta be all, gotta be
Yeah.
Port Mansfield too.
Well, it has to be
It
everybody.
can't Just be LaSarre. It's gotta be everybody.
What do you mean?
What your objection to that?
No,
Everybody
we are
pays
being,
the tax.
exactly. And what, but the question, answer the question, why are we being taxed? Why?
That's not our fault. It's not the residents' fault, you know?
Oh, oh, why? No, we're the navigation district.
I tell you what, let's do.
Mansfield belongs to the navigation district.
Let's go to the legislature.
Belongs to the navigation district.
Let's go to the legislator and get a change.
Will you support it?
I will.
Commissioner?
You know what? Yes, I will.
Support it? Being-
Yes, I will.
No?
Yes, I will.
You want your people to pay taxes, to continue to pay taxes.
Steve,
Port Mansfield.
Bring something in to bring business so that my county can grow, so my kids could want to stay here. Yeah, no, I will pay taxes for that. I will. All day long for Willacy County to grow and not just stay where it's at, I would pay.
You can run for county commissioner or something if you want to do that.
Because I'm being taxed we're not getting anything out of it. That's the whole purpose of it.
yeah. Anyway, that's another conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Taking action on that.
Body field.
Yeah, we're gonna,
Always
well,
felt that way.
we can postpone it or we can take action, whatever,
You don't have to take action.
you know.
Okay, well, let me just-
This is what I would like. And not necessarily an action, but what I heard is that the two parties can work with each other to make this thing happen. Okay? But what concerns me is that I want to make sure that, and this is you, Ron, that you're gonna make it happen. That you're not gonna, and I'm gonna use that word, that you're not gonna sabotage this thing because we as a majority approve the public relations piece. And we have a contract with MPC and both of them need to work together. And it is imperative that if we continue forward with this, and I'm just speaking from and just thinking out loud here, that you are the key person to make things happen, Ron. And that any time I hear, well, you know, I had this negative vibes, no, because this is the commission saying we have a contract for PR and we have a contract for MPC and they need to work together. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying that's what it, but whatever we decide, I want to make sure, Ron, that you make it happen. And if you're not, let us know so that we can have a different conversation.
My position on this, when I put it on the agenda, was to say that I believe that MPC should be retained because they do so many functions for us, way beyond anything to do with the website. That's just a piece of it that are critical to our operations and our cash flow. And that since we have them already have our relationship with Border Affairs established, that they learn to work together. And if they want to come here and have a meeting on neutral ground, then more power to them. But
That should have been done from the beginning.
But you need to
Yeah.
facilitate that.
You
Yeah.
know,
I actually feel bad for MPC
Pedal.
and
I think we just addressed, an assessment of what we need to do. We've already named several items that we need to do. In the military, I did risk assessment for a battalion, okay? I identified the problem and I had to identify a solution.
Right.
And that's what we're discussing. Let's not get out of hand. I mean, let's just do an assessment and find out how we can get this done without bickering with each other. Okay?
The other question I had too is if we retain MPC and Border Affairs both to work together, well, how much extra cost is that gonna be?
well, it's no more than we're
No,
currently paying.
no, nothing.
But I think there's a $200 a month increase that's going to come into effect because of the live
I
stream.
mean, what I was getting at is if you go strictly with one or the other,
No, we're not gonna do that.
paying the MPC like what, $6,000 or something,
So 10 roughly.
No.
$10,000 a
We're
year.
talking in apples and oranges. One is public
That's
relations,
what I'm trying to understand.
and one is public relations, and the other is
But we
web.
already went through that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, we're here at this point, in this
Mhm.
juncture. You know, let's go forward. Let's have a positive, aspect of it because man, we can bigger Bicker all meeting long, and we're not gonna get nothing.
Let's make a motion then.
Emmett made a real good point up there. What they're lacking is content, right? The content, as he said, should be approved by the board, right? Okay, so why doesn't the board write up some content? Give it to Emmett. Emmett can turn around and give it to MPC, and MPC can put it on the website. Now,
Well, that's how it works.
Theoretically, that's how-
That's how it's
so that's,
supposed to work.
yeah, so that's $72,000 for Emmett to hand it off to MPC.
It's not.
Well, I didn't get that.
Yeah, that's not.
I moved.
There needs to be vision on this board.
Motion made to what?
Postpone.
Just an action.
Okay, so my question on the postponement is they continue as usual?
No, I think they need to meet and then decide what they're gonna do.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that
Coordinated.
the postponement, it means that MPC continues with their contract
everything.
and they can train and postpone. it.
Everything's
Okay.
the same right now.
Just-
Right now, yeah, let's
Yeah.
meet. I'd say that.
We as a board
Got
develop content.
Yes.
And
Got it.
see if they can work together, and if they can't.
I second that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Kendrick, seconded by Commissioner Trevino. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And Ron, we really need you on
Oh, no, we'll
in
get
this
it within
thing.
the week. We'll get it.
You gotta, and it has to be a
Yeah.
positive tone for everyone.
Oh, we keep on going.
Okay, moving on.
Not done yet.
Okay,
Discussion on scheduling a workshop to review and update WCND PMPUD personnel manual to include but not limited to the possibility of transition of hourly to salary positions, installation of time clocks by location.
Need again to check your schedule and see if there's a date sometime this next month that you can all get together.
Yeah.
Sometime this
next Thursday.
You can all be available.
Yeah,
For the next meeting, or is this what we're doing?
Well, that's the goal. You can have it personnel manual voted on next meeting and reapproved.
I'm pretty open, of course. I just got back, so it
School
may
just got
change.
back, so-
It could change in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But I'll keep my calendar open if it's in the mornings.
Morning.
It works best for me early in the morning.
it would have to be the middle of September for me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I've got hunting season coming up and,
We want to do it beforehand.
well, we can do it next week.
No,
Too soon.
no,
Doing it.
no.
It's tomorrow,
What about the week of the 15th?
Of September?
September.
Yeah,
What?
That's fine.
The week of the
That
15th,
works for me.
Okay. I can do after the 15th, 16th.
the 16th,
I can do the 16th.
Any of those days.
16th?
I go with you, Lefty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'll let him know, because on Gloria,
Sure.
I need to.
Tentatively, what, that's
16th, September 16th at 9 a.m. Is that good?
9, sounds good.
All right.
better to do it earlier than 9, Albert, we can do it.
I'm good.
Well, we-
Yeah, 8:30,
We need to make a motion to.
Yeah.
To approve.
okay, go
Super. We've done it at 8:30 several times. We can do this.
It doesn't matter to me.
with 8:30.
Get up at 5, so it doesn't matter. 8:30?
On the 16th.
8:30 it is. Motion made.
Okay, we need a motion to approve.
I motion made.
Sorry. Motion made by Commissioner Trevino,
Okay.
second by Commissioner Reyes, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Court Director's Report.
The couple of quick items, the Mr. Kendrick, and I know, Mr. Trevino deals with the youth people now on a regular basis in his work. They come to us and presented their proposed dates, for this year's youth hunt. There's a total of 10, it's 5 weekends, total of 10 hunts, 5 kids per hunt. 2 deer, which would be 20 deer per weekend, be 100 for the year. Starting November the 7th and ending January the 4th. Pretty almost every weekend except for Thanksgiving. So that's already well on its way. Usually they don't start talking to us till August or September.
And they will present a new contract.
Yes, they'll bring us.
Okay, I wanna see a new contract go through it because of liabilities and
Yeah.
so forth.
Right.
And then,
I'd like to introduce one other thought for the other commissioners to just be thinking about. No action today, obviously. So each hunter takes two animals. Normally, it's either an inferior buck that's either had some kind of leg problem or whatever, or what, but I think we ought to be considering taking some mature animals. And here's the reason why. It's because they're just gonna die of old age, all right? So I don't know what would be the best way to get to this. I'm not saying open it up just to kill them all off, but I'm saying maybe one mature animal per hunt. Draw a kid's name for that particular weekend out of a hat or whatever, and that way he can shoot whatever he wants to. Might be the best deer he ever shoots in his entire life,
That's good.
And then we don't necessarily have them because we got some that are getting pretty long in the tooth, if you know what that means.
Yeah.
No teeth. Then they can't eat. So
That's because of the Cheetos and popcorn
that's right.
eating their teeth up.
Calories.
Corn chips, stuff like that.
That's
All
something.
right,
Anyway,
all right.
think about
The
that.
diabetes.
I'm fine with that. I didn't think there was a criteria of what they can kill. I thought they just could kill.
It's supposed to
Probably
be
an
Yes.
inferior animal.
Criteria.
what we call
Is-
bucks. and-
But we can change that in our contract.
Well, it's not in the contract.
just have to
It's
tell
just
the-
100
Yeah, we
penny
just- yeah.
between-
Cut master and whoever.
Well, again, we could add something to that effect
We can
in the
put-
contract.
yeah, that's right.
We can have more discussion on that.
Okay.
The other thing on here is that they did the first Nilgai
Harvest.
harvest. There you go. They were actually, the numbers I got were not accurate. The actual numbers are 42 were taken and 33 were found to have a
Fever.
problem with tick,
Fever.
fever ticks on them. Which is a reason that the state wants us to get rid of them, is because they're so notorious for spreading the fever tick problem. So it obviously is gonna make a difference.
Let me,
So, go ahead.
yeah, let me tell y'all a little bit about what happened. I was out there, Steve was out there most of the day. I was out there the whole time they were doing it. When we did the drone survey with the Border Patrol drone, we counted, approximately 200 heads. When they did the USDA wildlife, they did about 125 head. But from what I understand, there was a lot of areas that they couldn't get to because of the water and things like that. So we feel like they're somewhere between 125 to 200. So when they did, I went over to the airport where the helicopter took off at 6:45 in the morning. And one of the young men that was on the helicopter looked down at the end of the runway and he said, "Look down there." And all you could see was these black dots.
There they are.
So he went and got his binoculars. There was 18 nilgai on the runway at 7 o'clock in the morning. So when they started their harvest, that's where they started at. And they never left that area and they got 42 within 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they harvest them, they put them on a truck, they bring them to the process area. And after that, you really don't see anything. It all goes in a trailer. It's done. We had, well, that's the wrong sheet. Sorry. What did I do with this? I just had it. Here it is. This is a lady from AgriLife Research. This is a Texas A&M AgriLife Research. They had their folks out there. And what they do is they take blood samples. They do nose swabs, ear swabs. And then we had the biologist for East Foundation was out there and their resident veterinarian was there. We had 3 folks from Texas Animal Health Commission and also had a state inspector inspecting the meat, the way they process it. So it's not just a matter of going out there and harvesting a bunch of dumb animals. There's actually a lot of research that goes on. And when they started checking them for ticks, for fever ticks, they were just like amazed. So we've never, ever, any harvest we've done, seen this many fever ticks on this many animals.
Not good.
And so the folks from the East Ranch were very concerned because we're on their border, on their fence line, and they'll migrate. So
But they have them already.
They killed 130, 125 to 130 off the East Ranch this last winter, this last year.
They get to Port Mansfield, they came from them ranches.
Yeah.
They didn't have any on them.
They gave them to us, not us to them.
Yeah, but the problem is now we got to deal with it. So,
Oh, we will.
yeah. Well, they're all under quarantine over there. So that's why if you shoot a nail guy over there, it's got to be inspected. And they usually spray the capes if you're going to take them home or whatever. When none of that happened, we disposed of everything on site. Frank come out and had his guys come out and dig a hole. And so everything that remains was in there. So they went back and did a flyover on the north side and counted another 45 to 50 still there. Then we did a flyover on the south side. And when he came back and landed, he said, "You got way more nail guy than you think you got." He said, "We counted one group that had 40 to 45 in it, another group that had 30 to 35 in it." And he said, then they're just scattered all over the place, laying up in the mottes and they're bedded down and stuff. So he figured we had well over 100 just on the south side port.
Wow.
Yeah. So, we had an agreement, the board voted on to take 75, I think it was total. So we're going to try to get to that number. We may get a couple more. They base their rates, I guess you could say, or what's profitable for them to come down and do it at about 35. So we can
Add another 35.
yeah. But
35 per trip.
Yeah.
Well, they got 42. That's all they can handle in their cooler. They've got a big.
So are they willing to come back and do another hunt?
21st. We already had that
Yeah,
scheduled.
it was already scheduled
Yeah,
for 2 days.
no, but beyond the 75.
Yeah. I mean, they're recommending, what we're going to do is we're going to do another survey. Once they get through harvesting this next time, we're going to try to get the Border Patrol to come back out and fly it again. So we have a
Better view.
better idea of what we have. But, the helicopter pilot and the guys that are on it, I mean, they get right down there on them. So they have pretty good, and this is what they do for a living. So, I think their numbers are pretty close. But, and I think this is something that's going to have to continue on year after year. You're going to have to go in and take it.
I think so.
One thing we got to realize too, there's only a small section of fence on the El Saws that's not high fenced yet. And the only reason it's not high fenced is because it was underwater when they were building the fence. So once that's completed here soon, we're told we got a captive audience. The deer and the nilgai. They're not going to be able to migrate back to the El Saws unless they find a hole in the fence or whatever. But the other thing we got to consider too is the fence around the airport. Of course, I know there's a lot of airports that don't have a fence around them and they don't have any.
They don't have no game.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, that's maybe true. I don't know, but.
Hitting a coyote over a nail guide is very different.
Well, that's why a lot of the pilots, they'll tell you, we do a flyover before we land to make sure there's nothing on the runway. So, but anyways, that's where we're at. And there's a lot of research that goes on while they're doing this. And, of course, we get a little bit of money out of it too. We get $1.25 a pound. So this harvest probably, I don't know, 10,000. And we've agreed that's going to go back to the youth hunts to support them.
The other thing on here is, it's not directly related to navigation district, but it affects the constituents directly. Should be affecting even Ringville and everybody else, but predominantly is a stage 4 water restriction has been put into place. It was put into place by North Alamo. We're acting on it. Fundamentally, what it means to the people in port is you can't wash your car with a hose and a nozzle and a bucket. It's prohibited. You have to use a pressure washer because it reduces the amount of water being used. You can't use so much water that it runs off your property or runs down your driveway. You need to use just enough water to do the job you need to do. That also includes boats that are inside the marina. You can use a pressure washer to wash your boat off, or wash off your cutting stations, cutting boards, things of that nature, but you're not to use a hose running. We've had, I think Mr. Kennedy was telling me that he went on a vision trip and told the guy about the restrictions, and the guy came back and was using his hose and just tossed it in the water with the freaking water run.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. So that's whole idea is it should only be hoses attached to pressure washers anywhere on those docks or at your houses. You cannot use a hose for anything.
So
except
who
for-
enforces that or that?
There is enforcement authority and we're working on getting that all straightened out between using the police department and what we basically is use, I've always.
It's gonna be very difficult.
As a code enforcement person, but it's gonna be incredibly difficult to enforce, but hopefully we won't get to that point. We're
Already put notice out to the public? Yeah, there's no.
gonna put a banner up at the entrance, it'll be on their utility bills. Yeah.
What about watering yards?
Water in yards is allowed only with a hose and a nozzle. So you can water your grass, but you can't, and with a bucket. But you can't use automatic sprinkler systems and you cannot use a sprinkler on the end of your hose.
Okay.
Those are prohibited under the reg.
That's any hour of any day?
You know, there's 3 hours a day and it's in the guidelines, but basically it's 6 to 9 in the morning, 6 to 9 at night.
And it's odd days and even days.
So those are the things that will be put out in the notice that's gonna go out in the utility bills.
And surprisingly, I know, like Charlie and all those guys that are down there on B-Dock, they've already went and bought pressure washer.
Yeah.
You know, they might get 4 or 5 guys to go together and buy one, but they're all using it. So hopefully, we can get folks to just voluntarily comply. And
Everybody needs to remember.
make it to the day where you go home, well, I washed my boat, but I can't take a shower. Yeah.
Just because it rained in Port Mansfield, and 5 inches of rain does not mean a thing about a drought. If it does not fall in Falcon Lake or run into Falcon Lake, it is of
Didn't make
no
a
benefit
difference.
whatsoever to this restriction. This restriction will probably be in its place for at least a year. That came from North Alabama. So, and if it keeps going the way it's going now, we don't get a major rainstorm, it could go to stage 5, which is incredibly restrictive, so.
So
So that-
car washes remain open 24/7?
Well, no, I think the provision was that they're open in daylight hours. I'll have to check on that one, but I need to
I think we need to start looking into a solution for this, and I don't know what it is.
Like a reserve, there's no.
Maybe,
It's a
buying,
regional solution.
buying some water from Waynesville.
Desal.
It is the answer, but it's a big, that's a regional problem.
We're already tied into Raymondville. But the problem is 2 2-inch meters and we just don't get enough flow. Now, I know the PUD
It's already been approved.
approved to tie in with a bigger line and I guess that's in progress.
But the cost is different. It will cost the utility bills if we switch to Raymondville because North Alamo shuts us down.
Way up.
Raymondville does produce their own water, so they will have water when nobody else does.
But help me, how can they produce their own water? Don't we all get it from the?
No.
The wells.
We have,
They have-
Oh, they have the
They have
wells.
wells
They have the
and
wells.
they
Got
we're
it.
building another well.
Okay.
In fact, I was just gonna say that the last time I talked to the city manager, they just got a grant to drill another well.
Yeah.
Can
They have-
we do that? Or the water's too salty?
We actually have already done research on it. We're working.
Actually, the wells were already there. They're upgrading those.
The problem with-
second well.
What Ron was fixing to say, the problem with Raymondville is the water rates are what?
40 times higher than we paid for them.
So we'd either have to absorb that cost for a short amount of time or go up on water rates,
Yeah.
which is not something we really want to do.
It's those are PE items, but because it affects your constituents, definitely. I'm surprised it's not affected people in San Polito and other places that are in your
Wow.
your
Yeah,
constituents.
No, San Pedro's tied into Greenville.
Yes. So
are they?
no, actually not. They're tied into North Alamo because
Yeah.
they turn our water off because San Polito doesn't have water, so they take our water.
I spoke to the mayor of San Pedrito. They get water also from Greenville. And that's where it stops.
Yeah.
To where it can go all the way to Fort Mansfield.
Well, we're tied into it, but it's just not enough flow to do any good.
Spoke to Munoz and I asked him how much it would cost us or the PUB, whomever. And he said that he would get back to us.
Yeah.
And just
Well, I think we've already got,
Yeah, we got numbers.
yeah, we got the meter ordered and all that stuff for us. I don't want to get off in PUD business.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Speakable.
any other discussion with Ron?
Go ahead.
We're good. Review and discussion on building authorizations issued for the month of July 2025. There's a few. Review and consideration of residential commercial transfers of leases, boat stall leases, transfers and collateral transfers of lease.
I move that we accept them as presented.
Sir?
I move that we accept them as presented.
Motion made by Commissioner Trevino, second by Commissioner Cavazos. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Review and consideration of checks and vouchers and any discussion and comments on monthly budget report.
Virginia put a note on your notice that she sent to you about the one check we sent to a contractor. We did get our $974,000 from TechStop back. So we used $111,000 to pay off the road project. It was the retainage from that project. So that was all we did. It was unusual this morning.
What did we get back?
We got 974,000 back. We put 111,000 out due to the
How long
retainage.
ago was that?
What's that?
That invoice
The turnaround.
Retainage?
for the road?
Well, that's probably 2 months old, but I told them they weren't getting any because they were having problems with the state. The state made them bill us a separate $24,000 just to put in a yield sign that didn't need to be.
Oh, okay.
So it threw the whole thing out.
Well,
Yes,
if
seriously.
you really go down there and look at that intersection, not to get
Yeah,
off on something else, there's no way an 18-wheeler make that turn
It's gonna be.
without taking that stop sign out.
I,
Would you put a stop sign in the middle of the intersection?
I don't know. Pretty
That,
stupid.
where, turn that way?
Yeah, where you turn the first turn?
my thoughts were the same when I passed by them, like,
All the trucks that have been coming in delivering materials, the 18-wheelers delivering materials to the bulkhead project, not a one of them has gone down that road.
Looking at P and L, it says, miscellaneous revenues. Miscellaneous revenues is twice what we budgeted, which is good.
Yeah.
But I'm asking,
what was
was that from VTX?
Yes, it's a VTX. We got a pretty good chunk of money from
Yeah.
VTX recently, one of five, supposedly 5 checks.
Mhm.
And then there's
I
other.
figured that might be what it was. I wanted to
Yeah.
clarify that. What about I though? Question.
Oh, well,
I got more questions on the financial.
okay. We can go ahead and start signing these.
When is the next song? The 21st?
you know what? I'm sorry.
Next week?
Next week and the 21st, whatever week that's it. When you retired, you don't get that. That's for these working people.
I got one more year, one
I was
more year.
Sitting at the house the other day and sitting around in my boat barn and stuff, and I went, well, today's Saturday or Sunday? I went, forgot to go to church.
That has nothing to do with the retirement. There's a D word for it.
It's all that old timer disease.
Where did Ron go?
Okay, the meeting.
Okay.
What's left building, I guess.
He probably went to the restroom.
Even in the middle of a meeting.
Hopefully he did.
Yeah.
Gotta go. When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Either that or he quit, won't he? Who knows?
You see where they charge us for that, that's under the land appraisal.
Yeah. Actually, I was really surprised that appraisal came in like that.
Yeah, me too.
The cost of it or what they appraised them at?
What the appraised the amount for,
I am thinking-
it was 6 million for just the 400 acres. That was great.
By the way, we're looking at a special meeting.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell because the discussion we had with the banker was like, it depends on what it appraises for, and it depends on if they consider it farmland or just bare, raw land, and there was a lot of contingencies that we didn't have the answers for.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
maintenance, we budgeted 20. What, 2 months into it, it's already more
So
than
you
half.
Oh, wait,
Still working for it.
wait.
Frank had to repair something.
Some of these have got several copies.
I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it was some kind of repair Frank had to do. Right?
And this on the check issues bill. I know we buy fuel bulk, right?
Sure.
And I know we have to send the debris truck and the garbage truck already.
Sign these.
I think so, yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
2 separate Valero fleet cars.
Right, one of them.
No, I might have missed something, but I think I got them all.
Very expensive. Somebody, we
You got too many stacks.
refill it. And the other one is, one of the,
Turns out on.
actually, there's 7 or 8 Valero, but there's only 2 that are ever used. And that's the director card and the garbage truck.
Okay.
So the garbage truck does occasionally, so that the card doesn't go inactive, we have them fill up occasionally here in town.
Okay, here's the next question. This Valero fleet card falls under PM Police Department.
Check on that. I don't.
I mean, we have fuel
Oh,
available.
certainly you do.
Yeah,
Yes. I'll check the data on it.
I don't know what all this is. I've never seen it.
Any more questions?
I have no more questions on financial.
Move that we accept the,
Motion made by
pictures as presented.
Commissioner Trevino, second by Commissioner Cavazos. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Why do these look different?
That's probably who's created the form.
Those are both.
We adjourning the meeting or
They're
adjourn it?
both stocking.
I just wondered why it looked different here.
Oh, because it's a sign.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So, yes.
Yes, I'm getting out of sync here.
You adjourned? Eric, are we adjourned?
Yes, sir. We're adjourned.
I need to get back.